I'm an FP&A manager in a tech company. But right now, I am doing a manual job that we all don't like to do, but let's get it done. I'm reviewing a general ledger dump to understand our costs over last month by vendor and department. By having a look at this, things seem to be miscategorized everywhere, so I need to get these all reclassed. For example, why did Salesforce have costs in the finance department? Why is Midjourney and Canva in office supplies? I have 5,000 rows to work through. How am I going to do this efficiently? I want to get all of these reclassed to the correct accounts, departments, and functional groups. If I keep doing this manually, I'm going to be here until midnight. There has to be a better way. So today, we stop the manual grind. Welcome to the Modern Finance Lab. Let's get one thing straight. This is not a tutorial. I'm not a best-in-class AI engineer. I'm just a finance manager trying to figure this out. I use ChatGPT and Claude for work almost every day. But full disclosure, I've never used Gemini for finance tasks until this one. I've only tested it just before recording this video because I know most of you are too busy closing the books and reporting to experiment. So let's see if I can take a tool I barely know and solve a problem that usually takes hours in a fraction of the time. I've summarized a list of issues that we found in the data dump earlier. First, Salesforce. It's hitting finance, but I want it reclassed to the revenue operations department. Here is the test. The service period starts in December 25, but the full annual costs hit the P&L immediately. It'll be interesting to see if Gemini can handle the amortization logic. Next, AWS. To keep it simple, let's assume this is all hosting, so I want to move it all to the engineering department and the cost of sales. For software costs, it found licenses like Canva and Midjourney hidden in office supplies. I want to move these correctly to software licenses. And finally, Uber, Delta, and Marriott expenses were coded all over the place. I want to consolidate everything into a single travel and accommodation account. Now, I'm going to put this in Gemini with the demo data and the starting prompt to provide context and a summary of the errors we identified. It takes a minute to process this much logic, so I'll speed this part up. It looks like it successfully summarized the 4 key issues we flagged, including the exact transaction counts and the dollar amounts. But I think impressively, it's also identified 2 new errors for Stripe and FedEx that I didn't even flag in the prompt, so it's added an additional layer of review for me. It generated the full transaction list, but I don't need the line-by-line detail for the reclass, so I'm running a refined prompt to get the consolidated view. One current limitation to note, unlike Claude and ChatGPT, despite what the interface claims, Gemini can't actually generate a downloadable CSV file yet, so I have to specifically ask it to format the data as a text block so I can copy and paste directly into Excel. I'm pasting it into Excel and doing a quick format cleanup. First check is that the sum is 0, so the journals are balanced. Now for the review, let's look at Salesforce. This is actually amazing. It executed 2 complex steps perfectly. First, the classification. I asked for revenue operations and correctly inferred that it sits under sales and marketing, without me even asking. Secondly, the accounting logic. It nailed the amortization. It recognized the dates, expensed the 2 months up to January, and pushed the remaining balance correctly to prepayments. Next, AWS. It followed the logic, moving the full amount to engineering, cost of sales, and treating it as pure hosting costs as prompted. Following this, software costs. It successfully reclassed OpenAI, Zapier, Canva, and Midjourney costs from office supplies to the correct software licenses account. Moving on to travel, it successfully consolidated the Uber, Delta, and Marriott charges, moving them all to the correct travel and accommodation account. And finally, the costs we didn't pick up earlier. It was able to help me identify that the material, FedEx, and Stripe transactions were incorrect, and have now reclassed them to the respective GLs, fixing what would have been a significant variance. Jumping back into Gemini, I ran a final safety check on the remaining descriptions to see if we missed anything. It returned a really insightful result regarding Zoom. It didn't just list the costs, it flagged the policy question: do we centralize these IT costs or allocate them back out by headcount? This is exactly the kind of proactive check I need. Finally, the communication piece. I'm prompting for two distinct outputs based on the audience. For general leadership, I just want a clean, high-level summary of where costs landed. But for the CFO, the context needs to be deeper. I need to explain exactly what we reclassed and flag that the upstream accounting process is broken and requires further investigation. You can see the output here is actually quite solid. It's not a copy and paste final product, but it serves as a template capturing the key data points and structure. In just a few minutes, we went from a messy GL dump to a strategic message for leadership. Is it perfect? No. You have to build checks and review the outputs. But I will always try to use these tools where I can, because the leverage is just too high to ignore. We are going to break things, fix things, and figure out the future of our profession right here. If you want to grow alongside me, please subscribe to the Modern Finance Lab.